Hi everyone. Nice to meet you all again. Okay, so now we are recording our sixth video. And for information, this will be our last Lex discussion. As usual, we'll start with introduction first. We'll start with Sarah, then me, Kier, Mus, Adila, and Nakiba. Sarah can start first.
Hi everyone, my name is Nur Ain Maisar bint Azhar. My metric number is 205814.
Hi everyone, my name is Saw Hui Ling and my metric number is 205769.
Hi everyone, I'm Kirtika Selvaraju. My metrics number is 206553.
Is Mamsaki bin Hadi. My metric number is 205716.
Hi everyone, my name is Wanur Adila binti Wan Kaswadinata. My matrix number is 207172.
Hi, my name is Nakiba binti Zain Arif. My matrix number is 207547.
So thank you everyone. Now we will move on to our next agenda. For this meeting, everyone have to discuss all 4 poems and choose one best poem. So later I'll share screen for all 4 poems again so we can recall back all the poems we have created. And maybe when I share screen, you all can jot down a bit the points that you all want to talk later in our discussion. And later, when you're done explaining all 4 poems, you all have to state one best poem. Then I will record all the votings, and the highest will be the best poem. So although I think all 4 poems are great, but no choice, you can only choose one of them. So now I'll start sharing the screen. So for the first 2 poems, the issue that we choose is habitat loss. And for this first poem, the poem is created by group 1 and the title is Habitat Loss. And the poem mainly talks about selfishness of human that indirectly harm and also causing the animals, mainly land animals, to face extinction. Okay, so next we will move on to the second poem. This poem is created by group 2 and the title is Plea from the Sea. Just now the first poem talks more about habitat loss and also endangered animals on land. And this poem mainly talks about endangered animals, endangered marine creatures. So next we will move on to the third poem. So for the third and fourth poem, we choose education as our global issue. So the third and fourth poem will be based on that. And this third poem created by group 1, title Education Don't Fail Me. And our third poem mainly talks about education system and also the importance of education. Then we will recall our fourth poem created by group 2 and the title is Journey of Education. And this poem mainly describe about the life of a student when they are pursuing their tertiary education. Okay. So I'll stop sharing my screen now so that we can discuss. So now we have to, all of us have to explain about all 4 poems first, and then only choose one of the poem that you all think is the best poem. Then I'll record the votings, and the highest voting will be the best poem. So who wants to start first?
Start first, Nakiba.
Okay, for the first poem by group 1, I think it's a good poem, but in my opinion, that it's only focused on more to um, hunting the animals than rather than the habitat loss of the animals, and also for poem number two, for poem, the first topic for group number two, um, I it's a good poem, but I think we're still not used of um, the style of writing for each one, that we tend to compile our work, but then the work is it's a little bit what do we call it, mix up a little bit, because it's from different point of view, so that we don't really um, stick to one. For me, I prefer to stick to one persona, because it's easier to understand what message to deliver. But in the second poem created by my group, which is group two, it's a little bit mixed up of regarding the point of view of the writer itself. And then for the third poem, which is topic number two by group one, um, I like the poem as in general, but I think it's more it's mixed up. It's a little bit like mixed up and a little bit long for a poem, but it doesn't mean that it is wrong, because poem in general is like it's free, like we can write anything about it, right? So but I think it's also it has uh, a good metaphor and also personification, but in my opinion, I prefer the last poem, because I like the timeline of the poem. It has I think that in the last poem we're used to uh, everyone style of writing. So, we learn a little bit from the last poems, and also I like how we give we state the storyline of the poem based on the persona. I think that's it for me.
So
So
Nakiba,
next,
which poem do you think is the best poem?
I think the last one, poem number 4.
Okay, thank you. So we will move on to the next person. So who wants to go first? And
Sarah?
Okay. I go.
okay.
To be honest, like I really love all of the poem, and I cannot choose because I feel like it's very biased if I choose. um, I like all the poems because it was written by us. We don't copy and paste it from Google, from the internet. But in my opinion, like, I'll give like a brief explanation of why I like and dislike every poem in each week. So the first poem written by the group one, entitled Nature. Um, Personally, I like this one, but it was a bit messy because probably it's behind the time when we wrote it was like I feel like we are at disadvantages because we wrote it only about 3 hours before the meeting. Well, I bet, but I'm proud because we managed to write it in 3 hours. For me, the first one, I feel like it talks about everything, habitat loss as well, because most parts is like mention about animal extinction, ice cap. My part talk about animals dying, and Adira parts conclude my part and most part. However, like Nakiba mentioned just now, it doesn't really talk into doesn't really explain the habitat loss itself in depth. You just talk about it in the surface, and I feel like the poem can be more great if you have more time. Yeah. So moving on to the second one is what was the second? Plea from the Sea. Personally, in comparison to the first poem, I really, really, really love this one. But in terms of the structure, this one have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stanza, right? You guys are 3 person. So for me, it's better if like you divide the stanza fairly so that everyone have their own parts, but then it doesn't matter. Uh, uh, yeah, I think that's all. And it also talks in depth about the marine life because you are focusing on one topic, which is the animals from the sea. So I think it's a good one. However, I really, really love the next theme, which is the education theme. And I really love Education Don't Fail Me by Group 1. That's my most personal favorite. Because for me, even though it's lengthy, but it talks a lot about the point of view of a student like us, and I can just relate to the poem a lot. And yeah, although it's like a bit lengthy, but then again, lengthy means you have so much to pour, and when you have so much to pour, you can relate to it more. So that's my personal favorite. But I would also like to add my notes from the last one, which is the journey of education. It's very creative because this is a new approach because before this, we only talk about our point of view, but then this is also we talk about our point of view, but in terms of the timeline. For me, it's very unique and it's very creative. So it's short, but there's so many questions, there's so many Nakiba's part I remember about here's to another cup of caffeine. That one is like so good personally. Yeah, but then again, the first education team, the first poem by the group one is what I like the most. Thank you. Okay, next
So,
person, please.
Thank you, Nakiba. Sorry. Thank you, Sarah. We will proceed to the next person. So, who wants to volunteer? Moose?
Okay, so me? Okay, sure, why not? Okay, so I will go to one by one about the poem. Okay, so the first poem is about the habitat loss by the group one. Okay, so just like Sarah said, we did manage this poem in 3 hours. In 3 hours, which I'm very amazed by the result, even though it's just 3 hours. 3 hours. But then the outcome of the 3 hours is fantastic, I think, because we can see from the first and second stanza, we can see the pattern A B B like that, and then the second and the third stanza is about the animals on the land, how we like to drive our car carelessly until we hit the cat on the road. And then the fifth and the fourth is about our greed, our lust for power, our materialistic for the world. So I think even though it's just 3 hours, but I think we made a good outcome for the 3 hours for the group one. So and then for the next poem is about animal called Plea from the Sea from the group 2. And then I think this one is also amazing actually. Amazing just because maybe they have a lot of time to do it. Okay, but the point is I like the even though the structure is not it's not it's like it's not systematic like just have 7, but I think it's still amazing, because at the last stanza we say we humans are so weak we can't see how the deep often seeks that when nothing is left for us to eat, the rich have nothing left to steal. We ended the same gives us all the left we could have ill. It means, this there is the metaphor, there is the tone, a b like that, and then the meaning is deep for us to understand. So I think the group two poems is good. And then we move to the education group one poem. Okay, so for this poem, actually, for this poem, I have no idea what to do actually for this poem, because for the poem by group one, we actually more focused to the point of view of a student, I think. So the first three stanza made by me, actually I have no idea what I have done, but I try my best. But then when I see Sarah and Adila poem, I feel wow, I feel ashamed by myself because why I cannot do poem like this. So I think still good, still good, still good. And then we move to the last poem made by group two, The Journey of Education. This one is very magnificent because we can relate ourselves to this poem. Like all of us can relate to this poem. Like at the end of the poem, we say the roots were bitter, now the fruits are sweet. I like those two words because the journey of us to hold this degree is not easy. We stay up until late night. We compress our time to do the assignments. We we spend all our time looking at the laptop to do research and so on. Yeah, the journey will bitter, but the food are sweet. Maybe after degree we can live the life we want. I mean, so yeah, that's my explanation for the poem. And I think, in my opinion, I like the journey of education made by group two because I can relate to it so much. So yeah, that's my choice.
So thank you, Moose. I have recorded your best poem in my notes. Okay, so now we will proceed with the next person. Maybe Kira can go.
Yes, I'll go.
Okay.
Okay. So the first poem is from group one. It's about habitat loss. Okay. From my point of view, I feel like it's a good poem for the first time to create one in 3 hours to come up with something amazing. From my point of view, it's a very good poem. And also, it talks about how much land animals are being hunted and how, habitat loss and everything. But one thing that it's like only focusing on one thing. Get me? Okay. The same thing goes for group two. Free from the sea. It's only from the sea. But when it comes to animals in general, all of the animals are suffering. So I guess that is what thing that we're lacking of when we're expressing something. It should be in general. For an example, habitat loss. So it should be like for animals. Like so, it should be for land and also sea. Probably that's the one thing that about that. Next part is education. Group one education poem. I can relate to that much because that is how it is. That is how life of a student is. You have to cram to score an exam. You have to you have to cope so much to get through something. That is how life of a student is. Um, it's a really relatable poem to all of the students, to whoever that is pursuing their studies and everything. It's very relatable, and I understand that it's one of something that when we read it we feel like oh yes, true, that is what I'm going through. Okay, when we go to the last poem by group two, it's the journey of the poem. When it's the journey of the poem, it's talking about how much we have seen since we are young. So when even a young kid reads it, it was like it's going to be mentally prepared. Okay, so this is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to be in this stage. In this stage, you all. I mean, like Do you all get me? When from my point of view, like for me, when I was in, for an example, a primary school student is reading it, I didn't know how my high school is going to be. I didn't know how was my uh, university going to be. I had no idea. I went through with the flow. You get me? So when someone gives you like a guideline, like, you know, okay, so this is how it's going to be, you will be able to prepare yourself. Okay, so I'm going to see more. So when you're breaking down at one moment, you can remind yourself that this is not the end. There's a lot more to go. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, you know, I guess that a poem is like is a not it's also expressing how the journey of the education is, and also something that all of not it's not only our age of students, not only university students can relate to it, but every stage, every age of the students, you know, can relate to it, can relate to how it's going to be and everything. So the most favorite poem of mine will be the journey of education, because I feel like it fits to everyone, because that is what every educator's journey is going to be like. That is my point of view. Okay, thank you.
So thank you, Kier. So now we will go with Adila.
Okay. Okay, from my point of view, from the first poem, Nature by Group 1, right? It's my group. I think it's a good poem because it's related to environment, right? And basically, I think this is it shows how much selfish human is. So I think it's really good poem. It's reflect to every single things on the earth. Um, for the second poem, Plea from the Sea by Group 2, I think it's really great too because it focused more on aquamarine life, right? And it also shows us how selfish human is. I really like because I really like the poem because it shows like every stanza shows how human itself is selfish, throwing rubbish into the sea, and then it help from us. Yeah, uh, and also from for the education from the group 1, my group, it shows from our perspective, right? Our perspective as a student. It doesn't matter whether it's primary, secondary, or even in a tertiary education. It reflects our journey, like how much our mental health got affected and so on. So yeah, it's really good because mm, uh, and next I'll move on to the last poem, education poem from the group 2, the journey of education. I think I really like this one because it also reflects us, but from our point of view, you know, we can relate to it, right? We can relate to this, our journey. As a student, we want to achieve our own success at the end of our journey, right? We want to achieve our own success, like our occupation in the future, and so on. Uh, yeah. Um, I really like the second last stanza by Kerr, especially the one finally the school I hope, because you know I can really imagine in the future I hold my own school after finishing my tertiary education. Yeah, I think I like the last one, the journey of education from the group 2 the most. I think that's all for me.
So thank you, Adila. So the next person will be myself. Because I think it's a bit running out of time, so I will be faster a bit maybe. So for the first poem, Habitat Loss, I find this poem interesting because it gives readers the message that we should take care of our environment so that a balanced ecosystem can be sustained. And for a second poem, Plea from the Sea, the poem is talking about marine creatures, uh, some sort of like asking for help because their home are being destroyed and the species of fishes are getting lesser. And I like this poem because it shows self-reflection that we should always take care of our marine creatures to prevent them from extinction. And for the third poem is about education, and the title is Education Don't Fail Me. Uh, I like this poem because it uh, talks about education system and how and also talks about inner feeling of a student. For example, sometimes we are forced to study and excel in everything. And also, this poem is concluded by the importance of education, which I think is very good. It gives me a feeling that although we always complain about this education system and we are so stressed, we are so busy, but we still have to work hard in order for us to be good because we know that education is important. And for the last poem, which is Journey of Education, this poem some sort of like telling a life story of a student when they are pursuing for tertiary education. I really like the change of mood of this poem from confused, stressed, and then to happy. It sums up the journey of a student starting from struggling which course to choose until they graduate as a bachelor of their own field. Um, so honestly, I think all poems are great, but if I can only choose one, I think I will choose the last poem, which is Journey of Education, because after reading this poem, I even feel a bit touched because it's too relatable to myself now. Before entering university, I really feel lost because I don't know which course to choose. And that time I feel quite down. But now I successfully entered university, and so far I'm good with the course that I'm taking. So although university life honestly is not as good as what I think last time, a lot more busier, but I think everything will be worth when I really graduated around 4 years time maybe, and I really look forward to that. So I'll choose the fourth poem as the best poem. Okay, so now I'll finalize all the votings. So the best poem will be the last poem, because I think five of us choose that poem. So this will be the best poem. So we will end this meeting. So bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.